Hey, year nines, how you doing? It's Mr. Clear here, and I've made a sweet video for you about persuasive techniques. So we are into a new unit of study, and persuasive writing is that unit of study. So I've got a PowerPoint here for you to remind you of persuasive techniques, which are an important part of persuasive writing. And I'll go through this for you. Um, this ties in nicely with chapter 3 and chapter 15, which you are, of course, working on. So I do want you to continue with those today, and you need to get those done, all of those done. But I do have an alternate task for you today, which relates to persuasive techniques as they appear in advertising. Let me continue. So, learning intention. Learn to apply persuasive techniques within our writing. How might we do this? So the persuasive techniques we're going to focus on today are this list here. So you have alliteration, repetition, rhetorical question, emotive language, hyperbole, called authority, inclusive language. I'm not quite sure. Oh, so I've got two columns there. Persuasive techniques used by advertisers and persuasive techniques taught at school. Okay, so they're the same list. So today we're going to take a look at advertising and how they use and apply persuasive techniques. So, a quick explanation of each one. Now, this might not be new to you. This will probably be just a bit of a reminder to most of you. So, the first one is alliteration. So, this is repeating the first sound of different words. They also start with the same letter. For example, to argue like that makes those people cruel, calculating, and corrupt. So, whenever someone is arguing, or you're looking at an advertisement, or maybe listening to a politician speak, if you hear the same sound at the start of multiple letters, that is called alliteration, and that is a persuasive technique. Next, we have repetition. Repetition of words creates emphasis. For example, we must try to write with purpose, write with feeling, and write using techniques to persuade. So using the word write 3 times gives more emphasis. Repetition is a persuasive technique. Rhetorical questions are questions which does not require an answer. This type of question is so obvious, it does not need an answer. It can help to reinforce a point. So I'm always asking rhetorical questions. When we're in class, people are not working, I always say something like, do you want to get out at lunchtime? And obviously the answer to that is yes, but you don't have to give the answer. Everyone knows the answer. Okay, so a rhetorical question is a question where everyone already knows the answer. The answer is already implied. Next, we have emotive language. Emotive appeals aim to engage people's feelings, not logic or reason. If a writer can manipulate a reader to feel a certain way, that reader will be more likely to agree with the writer's overall contention. So emotive language, making your reader feel something, is a really powerful persuasive technique. And if you can get someone to feel something, there's a very good chance you can get them to agree with what you're trying to persuade them of. Next we have hyperbole, not hyperbole, hyperbole. Hyperbole is a fancy word that means basically exaggerating things to a ridiculous amount. Okay, so use of exaggeration in your writing to persuade the reader. For example, this handout is the most amazing, wonderful, and the greatest thing in the universe. Forceful and overblown language to get the point across. So really exaggerating things to a crazy extent. The fancy word for that, hyperbole. Call to authority. Using an expert or important person's opinion to make your argument seem more convincing. Experts are often called upon to make one side seem stronger and more believable. So calls to authority are a really useful persuasive technique. And if anyone's ever written a serious persuasive piece, there's always a call to an authority in there. So I guess if I was writing a persuasive piece about why you should brush your teeth, it means one thing if Mr. Cleary tells you should brush your teeth. But if I talk to some experts and some dentists and maybe people who run dental clinics or look after dental programs for primary school kids or something like that, their opinions are going to be, their expert opinions. They're going to have a lot more weight than just my opinion. So a call to authority is the fancy way of saying find an expert, find out what they think, and use that to back up your argument. Inclusive language. This is writing that directly addresses the reader. either personally or as a member of a shared group. It involves words like us, we, you, and our. So that'll come up in the ads we're about to have a look at, and I'll point that out for you. So we're going to have a look at a series of ads here. All of these ads use persuasive techniques, some of the ones that I've gone through there, and they use some other ones as well. So if we take a look at this one, straight up we've got mend it, mix it, make it, everything to get it done. Mighty helpful, mighty 10. So we've got this MMM at the start here. So you'll remember that one from the start. That's alliteration using the same letter over and over. And also the word it is repeated here a heap of times. That's down here as well. So that's repetition. We've also got a bit of a sneaky call to authority here too. We've got Scott Cam. All right. And we all know who Scott Cam is. He's that guy off that building show, The Bachelor or The Block or whatever it's called. So you can imagine if Mr. Cleary was standing there, as handsome as he is, and I have my shifting spanner and my little tool belt on, you know, you might think, oh, well, if Mr. Cleary thinks mitre 10's the go, maybe I should go to mitre 10. But with Scott Cam sitting here, that is the call to authority. So his presence in this advertisement adds a little bit more weight to, you know, a hardware store than, say, putting a dentist or Mr. Cleary or anyone else. I wonder if there are any others in there that I haven't spotted. All right, next one. Down, down, prices are down. So repetition is the key one here. So not only do they repeat down, 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 and they actually have a hand pointing down. So there's basically 4 downs there. So repetition is like what they're absolutely hitting home here. But the other thing about the down, down is they repeat that ad everywhere. You walk through Coles, there's down, down everywhere. You hear on the radio, you know, anything Coles, you come across down, 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 down. So repetition is definitely the persuasive technique that they are using, and it works really well. Even if I didn't show you this ad, if I said down, down, and I asked you where does that come from, you'd go Coles. We all know it. It's just in our heads. They put it everywhere, and they do it for a reason. They want us to think of them when we hear down, down. Next slide. All right. So anytime you see a question mark in a persuasive piece of writing or a persuasive text, and all advertisements are persuasive text, they're all trying to persuade you to buy something. Anytime you've got a question mark, you know you're looking at a rhetorical question. Okay, so it's a question where we already know the answer. Need cash fast? Of course I need cash fast. All right, I don't need to answer that. We all need cash. We all need it fast. The faster the better. So need cash fast? Rhetorical question. You've come to the right place. So the word you there, and the way that directly refers to the reader and the audience, that is inclusive language. So that there is a persuasive technique as well. So we've got the rhetorical question. We've got inclusive language. I don't quite think we've got a call to authority. As handsome as this chap is, he's not quite Scott Cam. He's just a guy in a rabbit suit. So that might be some other sort of persuasive technique. I'm not too sure. But we've definitely got a rhetorical question. Definitely got inclusive language. Next one. How you clean it is up to you. Unbreakable, Toyota Hilux. So it takes a little bit of looking to really see what's going on here. But if we take a look at the ute and we take a look at the man, clearly this man isn't really using a jackhammer on a vehicle. Okay, no vehicle can genuinely stand up to being attacked by a jackhammer. Maybe a tank, but you know, this guy's been shrunk, so he's smaller than he actually is, making the vehicle appear bigger, and he is exaggerating. Or this picture exaggerates just how tough this ute is. So an exaggeration like that is hyperbole. So exaggerating things to a ridiculous point to make your point seem a bit stronger. So hyperbole is the key persuasive technique we are looking at in this advertisement. You're not you when you're hungry. Hungry? Grab a Snickers. So we've got a few going on here. We've got the you and the your and the you. So you could call those repetition, but you can definitely call those inclusive language. Okay, this ad is not speaking to anyone except you. You know, it's not talking to the general population. It's directly talking to you. We've also got a rhetorical question here. So anytime you've got a question mark, it's a rhetorical question. So hungry, the inferred answer is, of course I'm hungry. So we've got a couple there. Next one. Okay. What kind of driver are you raising? So we've got a couple here, including in the visual text here. Okay, so this is probably a bit emotive, this one, especially if you're a driver and a parent. This is going to strike a chord for anyone who drives, and I know I'm guilty of it. I road rage from time to time. Every now and again, I hear my kids say things in the back of the car, and I'm like, goodness me, they've learnt that from me, haven't they? So there's a bit of an appeal to emotion over here. We've also got inclusive language. This is directly talking to the audience. And a question mark, of course, always means rhetorical question. So what kind of driver are you raising? So you ask a parent, well, what kind of kid are you raising? What kind of driver are you raising? The answer would always be, well, of course I'm trying to raise a good kid, a smart kid, a kid who's going to do the right thing. But it really calls that into question with that picture there. So quite a few of those techniques there, the inclusive language, rhetorical question, and an emotive appeal over here as well. Next one. Now this one is a super emotive appeal. This actually used to be an ad on TV. You guys might not remember it. So if this is how your child feels after losing you for a minute, just imagine if they lost you for life. So in the ad when it was on TV, this little fella was with his mum or his dad at an airport, and the parent walked away, and they had the camera on the kid, and the kid didn't know where mum or dad was, and they absolutely lost it. They were just devastated. They thought mum or dad were gone forever, as little kids do. So this one is absolutely an appeal to emotion. It is very much using inclusive language. So if this is how your child feels after losing you for a minute, just imagine if they lost you for a lifetime. So a bit of repetition in there as well. We've got all this you, your. So it's talking directly to the person reading it. And the question mark on the end, of course, is the rhetorical question. So anytime we say that in a persuasive text, we know straight up we're looking at a rhetorical question. So a rhetorical question, we already know the answer. If this is how your child feels after losing you for a minute, just imagine if they lost you for life. So we all know the answer to that is they'd feel pretty bloody horrible. So it's working on a few levels, this one. I'm sure there were a lot of people who quit smoking after this ad campaign. Even for people who didn't smoke, it was really I don't know if disturbing is quite the word, but the ad really hit the heartstrings. And if a persuasive text can hit you in the heartstrings, in my opinion, they're some of the most powerful persuasive pieces you'll come across. Now, I think that might be my last ad. Awesome. Okay, so I'll go back to this main list. So today you're working on chapter 3, chapter 15. And I also want you to spend a little bit of time on the internet researching some ads. So just pictorial ads. I don't want any videos or anything. Just want a picture, just like the ones I've showed you. I want you to find a pictorial ad that uses one or more of these techniques. I want you to post that to the main page. So don't send it as a message. Post it to the main page so that all your classmates can have a look at it. And I want you to write a comment with the picture explaining what persuasive technique you found. Now with your ads, find ads that people are going to recognize. We don't want any American ads that no one's ever seen before. I want Australian ads that people will recognize for Australian products, Australian companies, those sorts of things. And really all you need to do is find an ad, because all ads are aiming to persuade the audience of something, and that something is almost always to buy something. Except, say, in the case of this one, this doesn't want you to buy anything. That wants you to quit smoking. This one wants you to be a safer driver. So you can find a public awareness one if you like. And there's certainly lots of ones out at the moment to do with COVID-19 and the coronavirus, those sorts of things. Post your ad to the main page. Put in a little comment about what persuasive technique is being used. And that is one thing you need to do today. you need to also be working on chapter 3, working on chapter 15. I'll be online as always, so message me if you need to. I hope you've enjoyed this video as much as I've enjoyed making it, and we'll see you in the future. Cheers.